Hey fam, I hope you're doing fine. Welcome to yet another episode of the Evolve with Intent podcast. In today's episode, I want us to reflect on something that's been on my mind from the weekend. So, if you're an ardent Twitter user, at least for the people living around Uganda, I'm sure you noticed that there was a young lady that passed on. I later found out that her name was Josephine Esisa. May her soul rest in peace. I'd never heard of her until that day. I think I first saw a tweet about her passing on Saturday afternoon. Then now Sunday morning, it was all over the timeline. I saw a lot of people share a lot of messages, and then there were these several videos about the work she was doing before she passed on. The whole time I'm scrolling through the timeline to see all these grieving messages, people writing lovely things about her. I'm thinking she was so full of life and she was so young, and which had me think so hard about the fact that if I ever passed on, would people get to say the same about me, you know? And this is not even just about me, it's about each one of us. In the event that, God forbid, that you passed on today, if something unfortunate happened and you had to leave this world, what would people say about you? And of course, we all know the answer. The only way you get to have people celebrate your life when you pass on, no matter how young or old you are, is by how you live through today. So, with whatever you're doing in your life, because honestly, that's what was in my mind. I'm like, I need to live more for others. To think that this young lady, Josephine, was a sickle cell patient for a while, but once she knew that she was at that point where she probably didn't have much to do about it, I think she spent a lot of time trying to create awareness for sickle cell patients. I was watching some of the videos they did on YouTube with another gentleman, and they're creating awareness on treatment and managing and having all these conversations about sickle cell. To think that even when she knew that she was in that situation, she was selfless enough to still put herself out there to help other people or any other person who could be dealing with the same situation. For me, that blew my mind. So, as much as I didn't know, this episode is meant to celebrate a person like her, but also to inspire you today to think beyond your own self. The life you're living, no matter how you think your hands are tied or you don't have much to offer, apparently we really all have to offer. As long as you're still alive, there were so many lovely messages that people wrote about her, but the one thing that was a constant was people could not wait to see what she would achieve if she had lived on a bit longer. And that for me had me thinking about the whole reason as to why we have this podcast is for young people to figure things out as early as they can. You don't have until later, I don't know, 30, 40, 50. You have right now. And I think that's the one thing death really sticks to our face, is that you don't have time. Tomorrow is not promised. As much as other people, of course, fall sick, but we all know what happens. You could leave your house in the morning and not make it back. An accident happens. Anything unfortunate can happen. So if you're someone waiting to start later, maybe you have time. I feel like her life just reminded me of the fact that you don't have to wait until a certain age to be able to do something with your life, for yourself, for those that love you, for those that you love, for those that you care about, to think that. And I could tell her social circle was like so rich. Like there were all these people that kept saying these things about her, and my God, it was so beautiful, but also so sad that they were grieving, but also such a reminder that you really don't have time. We do not have time. You don't have 2 years to be able to say, okay, I'll start next week. If there is anything that God called you to do, or something that you feel within yourself that you should do, go ahead and do it today, because tomorrow is not promised. And that's what I think death again reminds us, is that when people pass on, when people your age pass on, you realize that you're actually not, like, it's not guaranteed. It could be you next, it's not like, oh, it's happened to someone else. Me, I'm kawa, I'm safe, I'm not sick, I'm staying safe. As in, anything could happen anytime, so if you're waiting for the right time to do the things you want to do to make a difference in this world, I hate to break it to you, please get started today. You don't have time. Towards this episode, I think before her passing happened, there are a lot of other things that were on my mind that I thought I should share with you guys. Remember, this podcast is a platform for each one of us that's looking to grow and become a better version of ourselves. It's a personal development podcast where I share my experiences as I've lived through them and those of others. Like I mentioned, we'll be having guests, and on those sessions, we'll have them share their life experiences. So before that weekend, there are a number of things that I was constantly thinking about that I thought I should put in this episode. We are only as brave as the people around us. So family, friends, bosses, or you workmates. Like there's a night I was with a different group of people, at least not my normal usual friend circle, and there was an event happening that night. It was kind of like an opening night, really. This gentleman had a huge milestone, and I think they were opening that night, so a friend had invited me to tag along, and I was looking at everything they had put together, and in my head I'm like, I don't think I'd have the balls to pull off something like this. And it stuck out to me because I kept thinking about it the whole time, even when I was hanging out with my friends, and I realized we are only as brave as those around us. So if your friends are starting a business and you see them trying and probably failing and trying again, you're going to be more convinced to start than someone who has friends who are not even trying to start a business. If in your family you're the kind of people that are daring and want to make all these big ambitions, buy a car, build that house, if you grew up seeing your father do all that, chances are you're gonna want to do the same thing. If you have friends, or if you're around people who are laissez-faire, you're gonna be as brave as your laissez-faire group. So this sounds like watch your circle, but the point here is you are only as brave to take risks, to step into this world, to do the things you want to do. You are only as brave to do that as those around you. The other thing I've been constantly thinking about, I think I was talking to a gentleman about last week, and they were telling me a story about how they left their hometown, and this, I thought I should sneak in it here. I got it from him. He said, leave your hometown. Whatever you're doing with your life, please make sure you leave the place where you were born. Like let's say you were born in Futpoto, you went to primary school in Futpoto or secondary school, same, did university at a university in Futpoto, please try as much as you can to leave your hometown. His explanation, from what I understood, was you need to try and put yourself out there in the world without having the hang of, oh, that's so-and-so's son, oh, that's so-and-so's daughter. Like parents send their children to boarding school. It's a great place for character development. In this case, your boarding school would be, if you were born in Fort Porto, please leave. If you can leave the country for either studies, good for you. That should do you great character development. Same, if you're born in Fort Porto, please leave. Move to the city or Masaka or any other district where you get the chance to truly establish yourself as you. Like there is so much growth that happens when you don't have your parents, your parents' hand over your head. You get to choose who you want to become in unknown spaces. Now, the other thing that's been sticking to my mind the whole time, I think for the past 4-6 weeks really, was about our social capital. Even with Josephine's passing on, I noticed she knew a lot of people, and it just blew my mind. Like, wow, like how could she be so young and all these respectable, responsible people were in her circle and they knew her, and they don't just say minor things about her, they say how she was such a team player. She was such, like they say all these things about her, and I'm like, wow. So, which brings me to the point that I really want to stick out today. Break free from your social circle. You'll need help from people outside your social circle. So, I'm gonna share my personal experience really about the social circle. The family I come from, we would not say is like the best of families, and somehow even the friends that I have are from the same kind of family, like probably an absent father or an absent mother, or your parents had multiple wives, or and for some unknown reason I'm even drawn to friends with similar family experiences. Then we probably went to the same community schools, or those average schools, like you realize you grew up from a surviving family. Really, I wouldn't call it the best, but one where you survive. You have at least a meal. It's okay, it's comfortable. You're just surviving. Really, you're not leaving. You go to the same schools with kids that are just surviving. You advance to secondary school, you advance to uni, and yeah, before you know it, you've spent at least 20 years of your life rubbing shoulders with people of the same social caliber in this case, and none of you is even able to help the other. Both of you are like fighting to get out of this ditch and break loose from the shackles of the social settings and how it holds you back, and in that situation, none of you is helping pull the other out. So I feel like I understand when parents take their children to the big schools, the big schools, because as much as it's expensive education, if you can afford it, please go for it, because that's an investment in your child's social capital. They will be your children will be rubbing shoulders with children from bigger families. My point here is challenge yourself to make new friends or rub shoulders with people that are of a totally different caliber. If you come from a broken family, try and make friends with someone from a healthy family with both parents present. I honestly didn't know that I had to get this part of my life together until I made friends who are like outside my social circle, and it was such a game changer. Like you start to see it's not even about what they are giving you, it's what you're exposed to. Like you actually see people from loving functional families, and you're like, wow, so these things actually still exist. Like even your thinking changes. You realize they're risk takers, while for you, I mean, in this case for me, I'm such a coward. Like I am so afraid of taking risks, but you realize, I mean, you get exposed to so many things really, because clearly we were both raised differently. So as you're growing and evolving, try as much as you can to make friends outside your social circle, people out of your caliber, people out of your league, So as we celebrate the life of the late Josephine Esisa, may it be a reminder for each one of us that's listening in that you only get one shot at this thing called life. I know you've had these lines before, but let this be a reminder that it is in your power to live that life to the best of your capabilities. You know, like I said, we grew up thinking death comes at 60, 70, 80, but I don't know. I feel like it's such a scary time to be alive. Like, you should be as daring as you can. Like, get things done. Throw yourself out there. That's why this podcast exists, for young people to live a life like Josephine lived. I feel like she did so much at her young age. Please reflect on this. Take your time, sit down and figure out what it is exactly you want to do with your life and do it today. You don't get another shot. And the fact that we are so opportuned to be alive and healthy and sane and, then I don't see why you have an excuse to not do what you want to do with your life. And if you don't know who Josephine Assisa is, she was a sickle cell warrior. She had created this safe space, this platform where she would have conversations about sickle cell awareness and treatment and how patients can find help. So if you also didn't know who Josephine Assisa is, I tried getting some information about her. Her bio on Twitter says she's a sickle cell warrior who is intentionally changing your perspective on sickle cell. She had this, I saw a YouTube channel where she would have these awareness conversations with another gentleman, advocating for better treatment of sickle cell and raising awareness about this disease. So if you haven't checked her out, you should go and check her out. You will be so amazed that there is another video I saw where people kept sending her questions that ask questions about how she is able to keep optimistic, to keep positive, and she would respond. Which brings me back to my point. She knew that it was coming, and that did not stop her. For Christ's sake, I admire that, because when I put myself in her shoes, I would not live on. It would be so hard for me to live on, which, maybe anyone else would say they would be in this situation, which I admire so much about her, that she kept pushing and living and filling other people's cups. So my question to you today, which is something I've been asking myself today, what would you do with your life if someone gave you a timeline? Because I feel like the reason we procrastinate, the reason we're inconsistent, the reason you lie in bed when you know there is cleanup to do in your life is because you think, I'll do it later. I'll do it next week. The reason that's why you haven't started that passion project you're thinking, I'll do at the end of September. That's when I'll be done with this work that I'm doing. So, same thing I've been asking myself. I'm going to ask you, what would you do with your life today if someone gave you a timeline? If you were told the world was ending on 15th October, what would you do today? Would you call the people you love? Would you repent? What exactly would you do? To think that you've lived your life, you're 26, you have only 2 months left to, what would you accomplish? Now, as for me, I think I've figured that out, and I'm going to do that, and I hope you figure it out. Now, until then, I hope these conversations inspire you to become a better version of yourself, to do the work within yourself, to find yourself, and become who God called you to do. This episode is in celebration of the life of Josephine Assisa, and may her soul rest in peace. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.